Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Really is a challenge if you're somebody that suffers from anxiety, have panic attacks. You got a situation coming up, the anticipation of the situation, then it arrives, and then you've got all this going through your head. There are ways to navigate through that if you better understand your anxiety. And there's also tools to deal with it. I'm going to say one of them is this woman here. This is her specialty as a licensed clinical social worker. She helps people with anxiety and panic. And we've got her back here. Barbara Spaulding is with us. Hey, Barb, how you doing?
Thank you. Thank you. I love being here. I'm good. I'm really good. Very excited. I'm a few weeks from having my book out there. I forgot to say, Anxiety and Panic, Your Path to Recovery. And that's what I've been teaching now for years and years and years.
It's so needed now, especially as we talked before, 2 years out of COVID, where something just changed radically with a lot of people just dealing with, and now, political dissension we got going on, the economy, all these things that are just floating out there that if it's not directly affecting us, it's affecting us in some way because it adds to the panic in our lives, right?
Right. And there is actually an anxiety that's been called free-floating anxiety. And people will come in and say, I'm anxious. And I'll say, well, what do you think it's about? I don't know. I'm just anxious all the time. And that, I think, is definitely increased in our society. Just this feeling like we're not quite sure if we're safe, whether it's emotional, physical, financial, but that definitely because of the pandemic has taken that security out. Because if that could happen, what else can happen? And it's very easy for our minds to catastrophize.
There is something based on what you just said, and I'm going to call it up here and I hope I can find it fast enough. This could be it. A mantra that I heard recently, and I'm wondering if you've ever heard it. And I'm hoping it's here. I sent it to myself. Um, mm, it's not coming up, but essentially, it's it's words that you say to refocus your positivity. Basically, I am safe. I am, and fill in the blanks. And there's three separate ones. Are there things that you can suggest that we say to ourselves when something is going down, when we're getting stressed out, what we can say to reassure?
Oh, absolutely. Because when you think about it, what we say instinctively is not helpful. So if you're scared about something, fill in the blank, and you say, oh my gosh, this is going to get worse, it's going to get worse. And you're going to just go at the tail end of that anxiety. It's like that hurricane tornado. You're just going to be at the end of that. But the way to really manage it, I teach people this concept of 3 words. When you're anxious, you're not going to be able to remember how to calm yourself down unless you're really good at it. So 3 words, they could be I'm safe, breathe, focus. Or people often use be grounded, which signals I have to get grounded, and breathe, quiet. 3 words is about all I think you can remember. And you say those over and over, and you get used to those words to replace the uh-oh. Because so much of our uh-oh is based in what if, and we have no control. If you worry every day, and you become a master at worry, is that going to change the outcome? No. In fact, all that worry is going to get in the way of you being able to do anything to manage your anxiety. So I always start with this really simple concept of 3 words. Write them down, memorize them. Don't expect to remember them when you're anxious. Work with those words, and then they become part of what you tell yourself. Then you can solve your whatever's going on.
It's almost a safe word. And I'm thinking that it could almost be any word. It could be, you can say in your mind or what, kiwi. That's any word, kiwi. That's your word. I found what I was looking for. It is longer, but it does say what we're talking about. And somebody shared this with me. I am not my thoughts. I am not my emotions. I am safe in this moment.
Right. And you may have to say that 100 times in this moment. Now we're in the next moment and the next. It's clever to say kiwi because it may make you smile, but it's also more a form of distraction.
Yeah.
So you could come up with a bunch of nonsensical words and laugh your way out of it. The reason I pick specific words with people is that they're geared to teach your body to quiet down, to really be able to stay in that discomfort and quiet it down. Because once you can calm yourself down, you could do that anywhere. You take that with you.
If it works for you, then duplicate it whenever you need to.
Over and over again. And I think what people do when they get anxious is they go down this road. Why is this happening? What's going to happen? How bad is it going to get? When's it going to go away? What did I do to cause this? You did nothing. You did nothing. You just didn't know something when you got anxious and started this cycle.
And the what ifs.
I know, what ifs, right? You're thinking of a few what ifs right now?
I try not to.
Okay,
I'm that was the game changer for me, living
Yeah.
in the moment. That truly was. I still, we got things going on. It's like, well, what if, but I find myself much easier refocusing back, thinking about something over here, not major stuff, but it's like, well, all right, well, I got to plan this out. Come back. I've gotten now to the point where I think about something, I will say to myself, I'm not going to worry about that right now. And worry is not the best word. I'm not going to handle
I
that
get it.
right now.
Right.
I'm not going to process that right. I don't need to. I'll take care of that later when I
need to, right?
when I need to. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that if onlys, regrets, are about the past. If only, if only, if only. What if is about the future. And the place we need to be is in the right now present.
Yes.
That's the only thing we have any control over, how we react right now, right now. But we aren't right now kind of people. We really still believe if we worry enough about something, we will have control of it.
I don't think we consciously do that. We just do that.
It's
But when
fear-based. It's definitely fear-based.
but when you truly think about it, you go into that deep detail of a situation, and then you get the clarity that, oh, I can't do anything about it. Nothing, somebody getting on a plane. And I've had friends, I've even colleagues that would wait to the last minute to get on the plane because of their anxiety and all of that. I'm sure that you've worked with people
Oh
and
yeah.
worked through that, but you can't control the plane. And then the other half of it is the fear of, what if I react a certain way? What if I freak out in this tin can that's 30,000 feet? What's going to happen? Going to the doctor, blood test. What if I pass out? All right. So what if, it's, you got to look at
And that the doctor's the better place to pass out. But the other thing to add to that is, what if I don't? What if I don't? What if I don't? What if there isn't a plane crash? I don't know why we tend to go towards the negative, and we forget that's just something we just told ourselves. But what about using the opposite? What if I don't? What if, so for instance, when people that have social anxiety, a lot of anxiety about going to a party. What if they don't like me? What if people make fun of me? What if I end
Right.
up alone, right? So what if you go to the party this way? What if I go and everybody wants to be my friend and sit with me and talk to me, and I'm the best, the most entertaining, and I have the greatest time? Wouldn't that be a better way to enter something?
Sure.
But our brain doesn't do that automatically. It's trying to protect us from the fears, but we can choose to at least add that other alternative and see if that feels better. Of course it feels better.
Do you feel that some of us don't look at that positive side because we feel we don't deserve it, and so in one way or another?
Yep. I do, I lead women's coaching groups, life coaching, and one of the sections we work a lot on is those limiting beliefs. I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough, smart enough, fill in the blank, right? And that kind of I'm not enough something really does promote anxiety. Because I think there's a part of us that thinks maybe I am good enough. Maybe what's unique about me is really wonderful. Instead of, there's a saying out there that says, shine your weird light so other weird lights can find you.
Mm.
And truthfully, we all have our weirds, unique, but that's what makes us different.
Totally. Totally. That's the person you want to talk to at the party or the networking event because they're interesting and a little quirky or
Right.
whatever. But maybe it's taking stock in what makes you that way. Why are you different? What do you have to offer? Whether
Right.
a networking event, you go in there, maybe you don't know a lot of people, maybe you don't know anybody, but think of those things that make you a little special. It could even be that particular day, the tie you're wearing that, has a story. And somebody might look at it and say, why do you have a Back to the Future tie? Were you big
Right.
into the 80s? Well, no, my mother gave it to me or something. Whatever it is, everybody's got a story, and that's what truly makes us unique. But you're right, we gravitate toward the negative. I think it's evolution. It's there to protect us. That's why we're still
Right.
here.
Right. And that, that is what our anxious part was about. When you're in the woods and there's a bear chasing you, your anxiety is going to tell you fight, flight, or run, fight, flight, or freeze.
Yep.
And that's how you survive a bear. But most of our life, we're not running from bears. We just have this fear and we think the social event or the grocery store or the car or the plane are scary enough that we need to react that way. And that's where the misinterpretation is.
Yeah.
There really isn't anything wrong with our anxious parts. They get overactive because we keep saying, "Oh, I'm scared." I know I did it for years.
Mm, yeah, you told
Years.
us that when we first got together that this is based on your experience and
Right.
also being a a licensed clinical social worker. This is not you just coming up with a couple of woo-woo tips and moving on.
No, no, I can do woo if you want, but it's also grounded in real because I do think that having had it for so long without really any support out there and misinformation and going to doctors and being poo-pooed away, well, you just need to calm down. And they always add honey, then I know we're not going to get anywhere, right? It's very patronizing, but that's changed. And there's lots of good people out there. So I always tell people find somebody to work with on this. And if that's not right, keep looking because this will take over your life and there won't be much room for you. So in terms of skills, we talk about skills because I'm big on this being skill based. That there's nothing wrong with you if you have anxiety. You're not inherently bad because of it. I know people feel shame and embarrassed, but it's something you didn't learn because if you learned how to calm yourself down, you wouldn't be struggling with it. So, along with the 3 words, start changing that relationship with anxiety. Number one, stop fighting with it. Stop shaming yourself. Stop calling your anxiety monster. I have heard the nastiest names. When I ask people, how do you talk to your anxiety? Honestly, they can't really say it out loud because it's so damaging. And that's what you're listening to all the time. It's hard
Mm,
enough to get over this. You need to be your own, I hate to say, but cheerleader. You need to really be able to help yourself out of this and then make sure that your support people are following what you're learning. Because a
mhm.
lot of people around people with anxiety, especially if it's been years and years, can't do it anymore. They don't know how to give support. They don't know, they don't understand it. So I say, tell your partners what your 3 words are. So when you're with them and you're anxious, that's what they need to say to you, not just calm down, because you don't know how to calm down yet.
Right. And maybe it's also having it out. Like I've been with people who um will, let's say it's an event. They'll say, I'm going to take a separate car in case I
Mhm.
need to leave. And then I'll say, I'll always say to you if I want to stay. And if not, I'll leave with you. Don't even worry about it. I got it.
All right.
It's all
Well,
good.
you're a good friend.
It's just just the understanding of what somebody goes through. But you know what? In all of those situations, the people that told me that they had anxiety, maybe can't do the crowd or whatever, had a great time. It was all fear based. There was no issues, but
Mhm.
they needed the safety chute. They need to have
Right.
their hand on the ripcord just in case. And I get
Right.
that. And the just in case could be what we're talking about now, having the safe word or the mantra, whatever it might be.
And one of the issues around the safety valve is that it doesn't really teach you that you were okay anyway. And I think if somebody needs to do that just to get there, that's fine. But in the long run, see, my goal for people is not to just struggle with this and kind of get over it, maybe 80%, because anxiety will come back. I've seen it over and over again. And that's the
Wow.
biggest reason. There's 100%. And I know they're in my field, they say, well, how can you say, Barb, that you're cured? Well, I haven't had panic or anxiety in the last 30 years, and I teach it, I talk it, I do all kinds of things, and I get stressed, and I don't get anxious in the same way. I know the difference now. So I do think there's a way to be cured.
What is isn't there a term when it comes back or something triggers anxiety? Is there a term for that?
Well, people often think of it as a setback, like when you're getting better. I'm not sure if there's a term for that. I use the word glitch, that if you're improving and you're working on it and you get anxious again, that it's really just a glitch.
Hmm.
Understand it, look at it, let it go. What more often happens is, oh my God, it's back, it's never going to go away. And so that usually takes people some work. Even when I talk about glitches on day one of their working with me, when it happens, they forget everything I said. Expect a
Wow.
glitch, invite it, it's a lesson. And then they get there and that's it, that's never going to go away. I understand that. I really do. But that's not the way to look at it. And that's why I think there's so much about changing your view of this. But there's certain ways we think of it that keep people stuck.
Hmm.
It's hard to change. I mean, we don't change our thoughts easily.
Do you think you realize the progress is being made when the time between the onset of the glitch and the resolution of the glitch gets closer,
Sure.
where you notice I'm anxiety, and then maybe it might take you 5 minutes, maybe 10 or 3 or 1. Like, I'm good. All right, reset. Press in my mind, whereby the whole day would be anxiety about the same situation.
Right. It can be. It can
Mhm.
be. And definitely that kind of rumination, remember with people with anxiety, what they're actually ruminating and going over and over is the anxiety, not even the situation, but the anxiety itself. The
Right.
symptoms, am I going to get this? Is my heart, all of that. And of course, all of that just opens the door for your anxiety. It literally says, I'm anxious, I'm scared. And
Yeah.
so why would we think we wouldn't have symptoms of that? So again, it's changing
Hmm.
that and being able to be observant and curious. Oh, I wonder what that was about, rather than uh-oh.
I think I might have shared with you fear of blood tests.
Yeah, you did. But last time you did better in the last test, you said.
Oh, I just went for one, I don't know, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And the previous was a year ago. And I was in and out of there in 5 minutes, and it was nothing. And there was a short moment where I was like, hmm. And then I just focused on something on the wall and like in a snap, done.
refocus.
But it's
Good.
the refocus,
Right.
because I refocused all of this instead of thinking, "Oh, I gotta take a blood test. That stresses me out. What if I pass out? On and on and on, to the different mindset of, I'm doing something for myself. I'm taking care of myself. I can't wait to get the result. I'm looking forward to seeing the results. Something's a little bit off. I'm going to address it and take care of it. Or maybe it'll be a clean bill. Well, it was
Right.
a clean bill this time. So I was like, yeah, I got
That's
that.
right.
Okay.
That's good too.
Yeah.
And so did you anticipate it beforehand? Were you worried beforehand?
Um, wasn't worried like I would have been in the past, but I also didn't think about it.
Okay, well, if you were worried, you'd know. You would know. It'd be front and center. So that's huge then, right?
It was almost to the point where I didn't think about it until that morning. And then I really didn't think about it. I just went through the motions and did it. Um, but you have to fast. And sometimes, if I don't have anything in my stomach, it can feel a little funky. So I made sure I ate it like, midnight. Yeah. So, you
Yeah,
know,
right. The
eh,
last minute.
which
Calculate by the minutes when you can have to stop eating. Yeah.
I do that anyway, late night snack and then done. But it's amazing when you come up with a different mindset or looking at it in a different way, like we're talking about now, where it's it's just a refocus. I find it's just a refocus.
Right. Right. And we can always do that. We can do that with just about anything.
Mm,
We just don't practice it enough. And
correct.
our anxious reaction is lightning fast. People will always say, I don't know where it came from. Well, it might have come from your worrying a week ago, 2 weeks ago. It might, but it happens very fast because it's really designed to be, oh my gosh, there's a bear coming and I have to react. And that's what really gets triggered when we say, uh-oh, or I'm scared, or that's the part that's getting kind of, I think, woke up. Like now, that anxious part, I think of it like, ooh, what is it? What is it? What is it? Like those little meerkats, they're always on guard. 'Cause they're
Yeah.
prey, they're gonna get killed. And so we need to not be like that. And part of it, for people with anxiety that have had it a while, their system is elevated almost all the time. When I say on a regular day, you're just sitting doing your work from 1 to 10, where's your anxiety? 10 being the highest. Oh, a 5. See, that's too high. We're not supposed to be at a 5 just in a calm situation, because now it's very easy to keep going. So I teach not just like specific skills for what to do in a panic, but also overall how to calm your system down so that you have, the term more in the bank. So
Mm,
when something happens, a car cuts in front of you, you react and then you calm yourself down. You're not going to be anxious for a day thinking about what if, and I should never drive again. Because the anxious thoughts connect to the next anxious thought, to the next, to the next.
wow.
And if we don't manage it, it's going to take off. And like I said, we'll be at the tail end of it.
And what you just said, I believe, is a game changer in terms of
Okay.
understanding what we're talking about here. That one thought or one episode of anxiety leads to the other, to the next, to the next, to the next. Didn't think of that. Didn't know that. Wow.
One of my favorite exercises, if we have time, is that we draw a circle and we start with your first anxious thought. What starts your anxiety? Everybody can identify that. And then what, then what, then what? So, for me, it was an adrenaline flush, and then I'd start to breathe shallow. That would start my heart beating, and it kept going. And that's the first circle. That's my anxious me circle. The second one is the calm me. So instead of the adrenaline reaction, what do I do to calm that down? What do I do to calm down the hyperventilation? And you can actually do your own calm cycle. And when you put those together, what people see is every anxious reaction has a calm reaction. So let's go practice the calm. My whole program is about practicing calm. People probably think I say that a million times in groups,
Mm.
because you don't need to practice anxiety, guys. You've already done enough of that, right?
We're good. We're good at that.
Yeah,
We're
you're good.
pros.
Yeah, you've mastered that.
Right.
So, but the whole idea then of going out and trying things that are scary with the idea of, so here's the thoughts, you're confronting your fears or you're practicing calm. If you were anxious, which one would you want to do? Practice calm.
Mm.
And so I feel like that's part of the shift to what you want rather than what you're avoiding. We already know we don't want anxious. We know that.
Mm. Do you, final question, because we're just about out of
Oh,
time,
no.
and I don't want to have anxiety that we're going to run late.
Okay, breathe out.
Kidding. Um, do you think that many of those with anxiety don't know how to do the calm? Don't
Oh,
even know what that feels like.
right. And it feels very unfamiliar at first. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's totally gotten lost. When your anxiety is this big, and it's supposed to be this big, when you need it only, but it's taken over, that's the world you're living in and seeing through.
Mm.
There you go.
And I would have to imagine that if that's you, that that feeling of calm, which is very far and few, you might even internalize that as something wrong. Like, I'm too
Yeah.
relaxed. What's wrong
Yeah.
with me? Am I sick? Am I coming down with something? What's going on?
Absolutely. We do a lot of work around what that's going to feel like and learning to take it little by little,
Yeah.
and that's, otherwise people go backwards, but lots of information here. Great session. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, wow. Do I owe you?
No, it's on me.
I have to tell you, before we get to your website, your background on this Zoom, we've never done Zoom before, looks like one of those backgrounds you click on a Zoom. It's real. It's the
It is
best
real.
looking background, interior, whatever. I've ever seen. And when we first got on here, before we went live, I said, I can't believe how real it looks. Like usually you can tell the outline of somebody's body and especially their hair.
You can tell because if I move, it doesn't get weird.
Unbelievable.
This is my therapy office. So, I always,
Wow.
and I want it to feel calm because I Zoom 24/7.
Yeah.
I do now.
It looks comfortable, calm, so well lit, everything. How do we connect with you, Barb? How do we find you?
You can find my website. The easiest is to look my name up. I think I pop up now, but it's barbspaulding@hotmail.com. I'm very approachable. And my website is www.anxietyandpanic.solutions. Book will be out soon, I hope.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Looking forward to that and talking more next time we get together. Thanks for being here today.
Oh, thanks. And have a great 4th. See you next week.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.